Hi, everybody. Welcome to our forest.
Molly, the person who talks about things with people.
Have you ever been told that you're intimidating?
Okay, well, to start off, this topic is a surprise to me, which is good, but just so everyone knows. So this is people feeling intimidated by us?
Yes.
Yes, people have been intimidated by me. I hadn't thought about it as an INFJ. Yes, people have strange things that they say about me. It's strange to me. People have told me that they were intimidated when they first met me, or they thought I was cold. That's not as common, but I have heard that. Or that I think what is common is that they were worried that I was analyzing them. Or
Do you feel like you were?
no. I think I was just being. But maybe it's kind of like the way Franco was saying, oh, it's too quiet right now, or your gaze is too intense or something.
People assume that beyond that there's judgment or something else, because it couldn't just be a being.
Yeah. They're suspicious. They're skeptical. I thought that had more to do with being a therapist, that people assume you must be reading or intuiting something about them that they don't want to reveal. But that's really not true. I think people give themselves away by pointing that out. By being by stressing out about being analyzed and judged in some particular way.
So you think they're giving themselves away? How?
Well, clearly there is something that they're self-conscious about that they don't want to talk about or do and are wondering if I'm seeing it, I think sometimes when we have a thing, we feel like it's written on our forehead, especially with someone that's thoughtful and listening and kind and interested. Do people feel intimidated by you?
People have said that they felt intimidated by me, and I was very surprised.
Yeah.
So what is your reaction to it? And is there...
Yeah, surprise. My reaction is thinking back, when did it occur? Trying to think of the moments that maybe wondering if I had done something, I guess. When was I that way? Yeah, I'm surprised, I'm confused, and I try to pinpoint how and why I was intimidating. How about you?
I'm surprised, and this is it feels like an ugly truth to reveal, but slightly flattered, because I feel I was confident. I came across as confident. I was not feeling as confident. But also on the other side of that, I guess disappointed. It's the both and, because I thought that I was very accommodating and trying to make other people feel very comfortable with me. And so then I'm wait, what could I have done differently to make them feel comfortable?
Yes, exactly. That's how I feel. Yeah, do you also get people saying that you seem very confident or self-assured, or?
I don't get that as much.
I get that so much.
I feel that about you.
Here we go again. My therapist said something you're a calm, you're something you're always a calm presence, calm, something calm.
Should therapists make absolutes and judgments? How did that make you feel?
I kind of liked it, because I was that is so crazy, because you're my therapist. So you've seen everything that I worry about, everything that I am insecure about when I cry, and he still thinks that. So it's just kind of mind-boggling. But yeah.
Do you feel that way? Do you feel that lines up with how you feel about yourself?
I did not feel like that when I was younger, and people still told me that, and that was very mismatch. But
did it feel like it? a dissonance.
It felt like a dissonance that I was very confused by. But as I get older and am as being a therapist, and I see people with like anxiety, just daily anxiety and various other, severe stuff going on, I put myself into context and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty chill. I don't have that much anxiety. I guess I felt like I did once, but relatively I'm realizing I don't. I don't know if I would call that confidence, but...
Well, being very present, like being anxious is being in the future and depressed being in the past or whatever. So being more present with who you're with, I think, can come across as a confidence. Calm and confident. Because thinking about the future, you can feel unsure and feel kind of like that anxiety comes with hesitance and uncertainty, and unsure is on the opposite side of confidence.
What do you think makes that intimidating?
Because they feel, I don't know how they feel. I think if someone's less confident, then they could feel inferior. And then maybe project that onto you, thinking that you think they're inferior.
Yeah. That's interesting because one of my biggest fears is being pretentious or condescending or like holier than thou. And maybe I fear that because people think that.
Have you heard that before?
No. Maybe like high school.
Or you intuit that someone might think that? Because when you say biggest fears, do you mean like most common also? I know your biggest fear is death.
Biggest fear is death.
But second.
I think like interpersonally, I do worry. I'm like, God, sometimes I worry, like, for instance, just being like, yeah, I guess I don't have that much anxiety. Like, I feel like that's kind of pretentious. I don't know. Or to say, like things I was saying earlier when we were together, like, I don't know, I've traveled, done well in my career, like, I'm happy with where I'm at. Like, I almost feel like that sounds pretentious, like, in the modern world, to, like, not lead with neuroses.
Well, that's kind of the norm.
Yeah.
I don't think truth is pretentious. I think thinking you're above or better than, that's different.
Yeah.
Than just speaking about your reality.
I think there is something intimidating about our energy of just kind of the intensity of wanting to like have so much depth interpersonally. I don't think everyone's going for that.
Yeah. Also, when asking questions and wanting to hear the answers, this is something that I kind of had an aha about the past, I guess, day with you. So when you ask questions, or even if I just start talking, you leave space for me to finish my sentences and thoughts. And that allows for, I think sometimes with that space, I might say more than I would have, and then feel either insecure about saying more, or feel, while I'm saying more, trying to cover all bases so that we're sure about, I guess, what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you almost over-explain or feel, ultimately just feel overexposed by the end, or maybe even have like a vulnerability hangover of like, oh, that was a lot of space for me to fill, and I don't usually fill up that much space. Yeah.
And so I think sometimes, because I will do that to other people and they'll keep talking, and I wonder, before I just thought it was like, oh, they don't usually maybe have a listening ear, and this probably is pleasant, but maybe in some ways they're just talking because I'm not saying anything.
I think also we ask direct questions.
Yeah, that's true.
Like earlier when Franco was saying something about a friend struggles, I was like, you know, he's talking about getting information from other people and like kind of building up a case that maybe they're unhappy, this friend. And all I could think, and I think I did say, was like, why don't you just ask them if they're sad? Like, ask them if they are struggling. Like, why like look for clues, right? Why not just be like, you seem sad sometimes. Are you? Like, I don't know. So I think sometimes asking such a direct question, maybe people don't always get asked, at least not by someone that's not really close to them. But I think people like the questions. I think people want to talk about what's actually happening for them. And if they don't give you a real answer. They just say, yeah, I'm fine. And that's, at least you asked, you know?
You gave them the opportunity to talk about it if they needed or wanted to.
I don't find you intimidating.
Yeah, me neither.
In that, I don't...
I think I'm very approachable, and I try to make people comfortable so much that I'll make myself smaller. I'll shrink so that there's space for them. So that's why it's very surprising.
Yes.
To hear that.
I think it's very flattering. Like when I came and you had like a list of things you wanted to ask me. Well, I guess we both did. Mine wasn't written, but I had all these things to say and ask. But I found that flattering. It was like, oh, someone wants to know about me in my life. I don't think people know that they can ask, you know, especially if you are quieter and don't take up as much space. They're like, oh, they're just reserved. No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, people thrive off connection. And everyone has a story to tell.
Yeah. People need it.
Some people take up way too much space, and some people not enough. And so it's interesting finding that balance and like encouraging others that they can take up space. But then like when someone else is taking up a lot of space, then it's like, wait a second, not you though. You need to make yourself smaller. It's like finding that happy medium. And I think I'm on the side where I oftentimes will shrink, quite actually literally sometimes, like make myself smaller. But I might talk quieter, like allow space for other people to talk, laugh at myself, make myself seem less intimidating, and like no judgment here, just so you know, no judgment vibes, so that they can feel free to, the space is theirs. But then sometimes that can shoot me in the foot, it's a phrase, and in certain relationships, because that's the one-sided relationship we talked about in a previous video.
Yeah, like it gets to a point where suddenly you realize you're not really known by the other person. And there was a part of that was your doing.
You set it up to be so.
I've heard that described like there's an energy or a vibe or something going on and you don't want to disturb it. Like you're letting it happen. It's almost like negating self a bit. Like, oh, I don't want to intrude upon what's supposed to be or like what's happening between people. Instead of feeling like you would add something by taking up more space. I think about this stuff more now that I lead groups. Like you're reminding me of the groups that I run. Because that's a lot about, you know, some people take up a lot of space, some people not enough.
Oh, that's tricky, trying to delegate, like, talking space. I'm nervous that it cut out. Okay, I think it's about to, just like last time.
You have a good internal clock for your camera.
Yeah, I do.
Did it work?
Yes. Like and subscribe.
Wait, say it again, because I was looking down and I looked very distracted.
Like and subscribe.
I was gonna say, have we intimidated you? Have we talked too much?